Okay, so welcome to Design Time. In this episode, we're going to be talking with Brenda Frankenhoff, who is the course evaluation guru here at University of Cincinnati. So we're going to be talking about the university enterprise system that we use for course evaluations, CourseEval. And she's going to talk a little bit about what CourseEval is and how it works. And I think you're also going to talk a little bit about the usage of CourseEval here at CAHS and how if your program or your course is not using CourseEval yet, why you should be. So I want to thank Brenda very much for coming and joining us today, and I'm going to turn things over to her and let her talk about CourseEval.
Thank you, Carolyn. I started with this team in the summer of 2013 and took over the management of the online course evaluation service. The service was actually started in 2008. The College of Engineering brought it in to the university, and as other folks found out about it, UCIT took over the support. So now we are used within all of the colleges in the university, not at 100%, but at least representation from all of the different colleges, and including our branch campuses. CAHS is one of our larger users as a whole, but each department is acting independently. The way we work the service is we work through either departments or sub-departments, and sometimes at the full college level. For example, College of Engineering does one survey for the entire college, College of Business does one for the entire college, so that they have some good comparative metrics to look at their courses across the programs that are offered. CAHS is a little bit different. They tend to do it by department and sometimes by sub-department. And in some cases, for the very specialty courses, we have unique surveys just for those courses. I'm going to try to work with the CAHS administration folks over the next year to see how we might leverage doing some things across the various departments, and I'm going to count on Carolyn to help make some introductions in those areas. Currently, we're part of the e-learning division of UCIT. We fall under the analytics branch, not the Center for Excellence in E-Learning, but we support that group quite a bit with other analytics projects. What I wanted to cover today was a little bit of history and how CAHS is using it. I wanted to show you a couple of ways to access your reports as individual faculty. And one of the biggest questions I get from faculty is, how do I pull out all of my evaluations for the last 2 years into one nice report? And I want to give you just a teaser as to how to get into that report. And if at any time you guys would like a in-person workshop, I can bring my team over, and we'll be more than happy to show you how you can creatively create your own reports. This is a history of the surveys that we've done for CAHS, and a survey is a set of questions for a specific time, and we create a container called a survey, and then we attach various courses to it. So a survey may have 100 courses in it, it may have one course in it. But just to show you the number of instruments that we've been doing in the growth in CAHS, I put together this chart. And I really kind of hate comparing fall to spring to summer because each one is its own unique beast. But just to show you the volume of work that we're doing, this is the number of unique surveys that we're doing for CAHS. And I can break this down by department if anybody is interested.
So these aren't the total number of, these are just different, discrete, distinct surveys that are being used, right? Correct. Not the total number of respondents or anything like that, right? So.
Right. And this particular chart, oops, let me go back one. This particular chart shows the number of courses that we are surveying for CAHS. And unfortunately, some of my colors didn't come through. But you'll notice I'm comparing fall across the board. So in 13FS, we were actually doing more courses than we did in 14 or 15. There could be a host of reasons for that. Then I compared the spring courses together, and you're seeing a continual growth in the spring courses. And then summer, as I said, is definitely a unique beast. It just depends on what the particular course offerings are. Response rates. As I mentioned to Carolyn earlier, CAHS has one of the better response rates overall at the college in the university. The university average is between, I would say, 45 and 60% on a given term. In general, an institution of our size, they say 45 to 50% response rates are very good. So in terms of everybody's concerns about an online evaluation, we're actually getting better quality data and higher response rates. I know everybody says I can walk out of a classroom with a paper evaluation and see that everybody submitted it, but you don't know that everybody completed their surveys.
Or that they gave you good data.
Exactly.
Right.
There are several papers that show that students tend to be a little more reflective with the online evaluations as opposed to handwriting, because they can take their time to sit and reflect. There's been a steady growth in the response rates for fall. Spring for last year and this year held pretty consistent. And then again, summer, that's good information, but I wouldn't use it as a benchmark. So, the system itself, working backwards, what faculty will see. The URL for CourseEval is evaluation.uc.edu. You'll see it later in the presentation, but it's very simple to remember. And when faculty log in and we're not in the middle of a survey season, it comes up to this page and everybody is very worried, where are my surveys, where are my surveys? This initial home screen just shows you what's currently active or may have recently closed. If there's something that has just closed within the last 30 days, you'll see it on here. Notice that there is a nice click here to view past reports, and that will take you to this screen. And I am impersonating Mr. Foster. He is my former supervisor here, and we have some dummy data in our test system, and he knows he's our test case, and he's always given us permission to use his evaluation results because he has a good mix of online, in-person, and over several terms. But when you click on the select here, you've got the ability to go through and select for a given period or a range of periods. We'll go through and do a demo and show you how this works, but it's very key to remember this selection screen at the top, or the selection bar, allows you to choose by given survey name, a specific period or term, calendar year that was executed in, and all of your surveys will be standard surveys. From here, you can click on this and get various reports. The reporting menu that's available in the faculty portal shows you 3 discrete reports: the evaluation report, the individual report, and survey intelligence. The evaluation report is a typical, standard, very statistically oriented report. Not very pretty, but if you are into statistics, it gives you a lot of good information on here. And in this case, I have attached myself to someone, this is my maiden name, I've attached myself to a course that was already previously reviewed. So I'm only seeing my responses even though it is a jointly taught class. I know a lot of faculty have concerns that they don't want others to see their evaluation. So even in a team-taught course, the reporting is geared so that only the individual faculty member will see those things that are faculty-based questions. Both instructors will see any overall or course-based questions.
So that's a question that comes up too, because we have a lot of, particularly in our online courses, we have a lot of courses that have multiple facilitators. So it is possible to have different course evaluations filled out for different instructors in the same course.
Correct. When the student sees the survey itself, it comes up, and we have a couple of ways to configure it. In some of the classes where you have maybe 6 people facilitating a clinical, and you're not sure which student's assigned to which one, we can allow the students to select up front how many and which instructors they want to evaluate. Or if it is a case where you definitely want both instructors evaluated, we can force the students to evaluate both in separate sections, but at one survey sitting.
Okay, that's good to know.
And then reporting is all divided out by access. Department administrators have the ability to look at both instructors, but the individual instructor can only see their particular information.
Okay, that's good to know.
Did that answer your question?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
The individual report is a lot nicer and a lot more friendly. You'll notice it puts in some very nice bar graphs. You don't have the option. There's not any configuration options for this one. This is what you see is what you get. But it is a very good report because it will show you the mean, median, and mode of a given question, the frequency of those answers, and then the responses. And again, this is just a sample one that we created specifically for demo purposes. But you'll see that there were 10 expected students in the survey, only 1 responded. Survey intelligence. This is where you are able to look at multiple courses across multiple terms. You pretty much point and click user interface, and we'll walk through it here in a moment, where I can pull my Likert or numeric-based questions. Survey intelligence does not include comments, but it does allow you to take a look over time. For example, if you're making changes in your courses and you have specific questions, I could just do a report on those questions based on course design and pull them out across multiple courses, across multiple terms, across multiple instructors. And this is what the Survey Intelligence Report can look like. I have selected 4 questions. There were 30 plus on this particular survey, but I just picked these 4 because they were of interest to me. And then I can choose how I wish to aggregate the question sets. I did this one by course, by term, and then I asked for the grand overall totals. So with that, I want to go ahead and jump out and do an actual live demo. So this is what a faculty member would see, as I mentioned, if you don't have active surveys going on or something has not closed within the past 30 days. So when I say click here to view past reports, it comes up with the most recent ones. Here I see how many years of survey I particularly have in the system. So I could do a show all, and same thing for period. Most people who call us and say, I can't find reports, go in and don't realize that you need to select the year, the period. And then I also see every survey that has been executed with one of my courses on it. And in this case, I'm pretending to be Paul Foster. So if I want to go look at this particular report, I click anywhere on this line, select it, and then I say include, and I can go to view, and it will bring it up in a PDF format. And again, you'll see, as long as the questions have the same Likert scale, it will group them together, and then it will show all my comment questions with the detail in the text. Unfortunately for faculty, there's not a nice export for this. If you need the raw data, your department admin can make a request of my team, and we can pull it out in Excel or comma-separated format.
But most faculty, that's what they're going to need for RPT purposes,
right?
That form right there.
Individual one. Now,
right.
If you're really into statistics, the evaluation report allows you several options for grouping and several formats. What we did was a comparative, which will compare my results to everybody else on this survey, but I could also do an individual report. We do not have faculty evaluate students, so these bottom items are not applicable. But you could show data, no graphs. This has a very primitive graphing feature on it, but I encourage everybody to go in and play with this, and then once you find something that you like, take a screenshot of the settings that you had so that you can come back in and work with them. We do not give faculty the ability to save these because it would become the default for everybody.
Oh, right.
The other reports are available from the menu bar up at the top. So we just looked at the evaluation report. If we go to the individual reports, I'm going to pull that same report up. And I have the ability to look at this in just a friendlier viewpoint. It groups all my questions up above with a nice chart. Then I have all of my statistics down here. And you'll see that there's 2 groups of questions, and it's because their scales were different.
Okay.
And then this one, as I said, everything is generated as a PDF that you can save locally now. You don't have to have a PDF generator buried in your browser. If I went to this one, it would bring it up in the browser and just allow me to save it. And then very quickly, survey intelligence. For anyone who's interested in this, if you will email evaluation@uc.edu, we can send you the instruction guide. It's a very well-written 10-page document that gives you the information as to how to create your own custom reports. For now, I'm going to go ahead and add new. And the selection screen is a little overwhelming. This is where I'd be willing to have one of my team come over and do a workshop, because once you know the very quick, here's all I need to click, it's not quite so overwhelming. Mm-hmm. The first thing that you need to do is everything that we do for your college is a standard survey. And you pick the survey close range. And I know Paul has gone all the way back to 2013. So I'm going to start with anything that closed from July of 2013 to today's date. And then I've got the ability to choose if I want a specific course. I can put it in myself. Or I can come down and put the username in, which is what I would do if I'm an individual faculty member. Then I go to the next tab, and I'm going to check all of the surveys. I could do a given one. I could do a range of ones. It just tells me what data do I want to report. And this is the interesting part, the questions. You can see how large their survey is for the IT program over in CECH. Wow. But if I only want to see, let's say, course-based questions. I want to select content addressed in this course was appropriate, the class provided clear understanding, learning activities, and the course was challenging. And then this is where I choose how I would like to report it. In this case, I am going to go survey period and then course number. If I don't like my order, I just drag and drop. Report options, show the question number. I always show the overall score. And I have a choice if I want to do simple bars. Oops, I do want to go back. Reporting options. Overall scale score is 5, and I happen to know that because I know this particular survey. This is where if you have multiple scales for questions, you could level it out. Like, for example, if I had 10 for some questions, 1 through 10, and some 1 through 5, I could actually just level it out. So that would be 1 through 10, or even take it up to 100. I have the choice to view the report, or I can export it to Excel. Let's go ahead and view it first. And it does, please note, it does bring this up in a separate window so you don't lose where you were within CourseEval. But this is the example of the report. It's interactive, so if I only want to look at, let's do 18 IT 1081, it will immediately filter the report for me by section. Same thing with survey period. I only want to see the 13 FS reports. So there are a lot of folks that really just haven't taken the time to work with this to look at it. I don't think it's been a well-promoted feature of the product. But I can see this being very useful, and I've worked with a couple of individual faculty who wanted to do this for their RPT processes. So if I go back to this screen and I export, I have the ability to export the results in the data dictionary. The dictionary is basically the friendly column names for this, so you really need to work with both, but we'll go ahead and look at the results very quickly. See what I mean? It gives you mean, response 1, response 2. If you want the friendly names for what those questions were, then you pull the data dictionary down and cut and paste the titles for this. But if you're a stats head, you might want to take this and put it together and do some simple charts on it. Yeah. See if I can see how creative I can be.
On the fly.
On the fly. Okay, here we go. We'll just do this one.
Yeah.
So,
and I can see, depending on which questions you ask to see, that this could also help some data-driven decision-making in terms of course content and course delivery. And, I mean, this has some real powerful implications, it seems to me.
most definitely. And again, some of it depends on how much you want to work with the numbers, or if you have a group in your department that can work with these numbers. We can also do a raw export that will provide all the comments. Now, please be aware, no student identification is recorded with the student responses. And we try not to survey courses with less than 4 enrollments so that we can help preserve that anonymity.
Right.
Occasionally, departments will want to go ahead and survey those low enrollment courses. We ask the departments to notify the students that while it is anonymous in the software, if there's only 2 of you in the class, it's very possible that the instructor can figure it out based on your comments.
Right, right.
So, for a quick overview, are there any questions immediately? We can dive into some detailed questions in a few.
No, not at this point. I don't think so.
Key dates that we are promoting, we sent out our initial announcements last week. The first half-term surveys, we tend to use a standard calendar where possible. We're getting more and more departments to agree to a standard calendar. It may not impact your students as much as it does the 4 incoming freshmen who's taking biology, chemistry, English, and math, and they used to all have different dates. Everybody has informally agreed to try to use a standard calendar, but with accreditation, we know that certain departments need certain specific dates, and we do work with the departments for that.
Right.
For the first half term, we only do a week-long opening period. So it's open from 10:03 to 10:09. All surveys close at 11:59 p.m. on the date listed. And then for the first half, we go with a longer period. We do, by default, the week before finals and finals week, but we have some colleges and groups that do not want to do these during finals, so we move them back a week. So it's the last 2 weeks of actual classes. And then results are always available on the first day after the grade submission deadline. We send that notice out to faculty at 8 a.m. so that they can go in and take a look at the results of their surveys. Now, that's just for the current ones that have closed. You can always go back in at any time and look at prior surveys.
Right.
Key links. Evaluation.uc.edu will take you to the My CourseEval portal. And then there is a CourseEval instructor guide in the UCIT knowledge base, and this is the link for it. Another question I get asked a lot is how you get better response rates. That doesn't seem to be an issue overall for your college, but these are some of the things that I have pulled from some of my reading and in talking to other folks at other colleges and universities. Students tend to take it seriously if they know their instructors or their departments are using the data that they're providing. If you would take the time to maybe during the first week of course, show them some themes from your prior term's course evals and share it with them and let them know what changes you're making based on student feedback. That sets in their mind that their voice is important and that somebody is listening. I've had several instructors in some of the classes I've taken talk about this. We would do a midterm evaluation, and then they'd come back the next day and say, okay, here's what you said, and here's what I'm going to change.
Mm-hmm.
CETIL, C-E-T-N-L, Center for Excellence in Teaching and Learning, also offers at the faculty level early term feedback. That's what the ETS stands for. It is faculty only. It does not go to the department heads. It's strictly a set of 3 questions that are standard. If you'd like to participate in that, the announcements should be coming out if they haven't already to faculty. But again, you can always email evaluation@uc.edu and we'll get you in the program. And again, remind your students during the survey period that you really want their feedback, and then allow them class time to complete the surveys, where you say you will have the last 15-20 minutes of class today to do this and leave the room. And we've seen that happen very well to increase response rates.
Brenda, just are students able to do these on a mobile device pretty easily?
Oh yeah, it works on mobile, so you can do it on a phone. It depends on how big your survey is.
Right, right, yeah.
We can show you previews at the department level what your survey is going to look like, but it is definitely doable on a mobile phone. It's doable on a tablet. It basically just requires a browser.
That's good.
But again, it goes to how big is your survey and how many comment questions do you have that you want them typing. And it is interesting. We've kind of been keeping stats over the last 2 or 3 terms about when students log in. Our biggest time frame is 10:30 to say 1 o'clock during finals week, and then we see a lot of students coming in after midnight, between midnight and 6 a.m.
Yeah, that's good to know. And it kind of blows the myth that they won't pull it out if you don't do it right there.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I think it's also culturally based. Some of the branch campuses, they have been looking at this and they allow lab time. They actually schedule lab time because not all students have devices.
Right.
And they will take a field trip down the hall to the computer lab and allow the students to do it there.
Yeah, that's a good idea too.
And then one final area of interest, everybody is concerned about response rates. Well, what's valid? The larger the class, the smaller the sampling that's required. Again, these are just kind of guidelines. I'm feeling pretty confident because I venture to say, I know in the core classes, especially our gateway courses, we're looking at enrollments of 200, 300, 400. And we're seeing somewhere around a 30%, 40% response rate. In the smaller classes, these are just some numbers that have been generally accepted. I cited the paper that I got this from. But that also kind of helps the faculty member to know, do I need to encourage more students to respond? And on that faculty login page, when your survey is active, it actually shows you what the response rate is at the time you log in. So before you go into class, you can log in, see you only have 45%. Let your students know that. Ask them to go ahead and complete the surveys.
Right.
And students can also see the response rate. So if you are interested in doing incentives, give extra credit provided you hit an 80% response rate. Students can see where that response rate is and know whether or not they're contributing, and possibly is a little bit of peer pressure to get their classmates to go ahead and respond.
Right, right. Is there research that shows that online evaluations return better data?
There are research papers that support both.
Okay.
In general, though, I have found more research papers that say students have more time to reflect, especially in their comments.
Right.
But you're going to get better quality comments with an online survey as opposed to a paper survey done in class. Right.
Well, it makes sense. If you have something substantive to say, you're going to want to type that, not write it out by hand. And then you got, you know, the handwriting issue. If you can't understand what they're what they're writing, it doesn't help you very much either. So.
And the bigger problem with the handwritten ones, and I know several departments did this, while you have the Scantron fill in the bubbles, someone had to sit down and type all of the comment questions at some point in time, and there is the chance for error there.
Exactly. Well, and bias and everything else. I mean, when I was using paper evaluations, I did that for my RPT process, and A, it was a pain, and B, they just trusted me to transcribe them accurately, you know, so I could have written anything, you know. I mean, they had the actual, because I also had to provide the actual copies, but who's going to go through those and check, you know, because there's no way to know where that, you know, it was a dumb system. It just was.
It was primitive. It wasn't
primitive dumb. Is a better way, a nicer term. You're much nicer than I am. Well, we are actually, oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I really think the advantage of this is the fact that the results are available immediately.
Right.
And what we have noticed in the last 2 to 3 terms, you wouldn't see a huge influx of faculty logins right after the results were released, but we've noticed that usage has gone way up. This is becoming culturally acceptable to the point that if we don't survey all classes, it's still up to the departments, what do you want to use it for?
Right.
Students will actually send us emails going, I only have 2 of my free classes on here, where's my other survey? So students are expecting it now as well.
Yeah, and that's great. That's certainly a change in culture and expectations for students, so that's great. Well, we are actually at the end of our time. We like to try to keep these to right around 30 minutes. So I want to thank you, Brenda, very, very much. This has been a very, very informative presentation. What I'm going to do, I have written a couple of little things down here for myself to do. I'm going to, as you mentioned earlier, I'm going to try to facilitate a meeting of the minds here so we can extend and expand the use of CourseEval here at CAHS. And, you know, we've just kind of begun the finalization of our strategic plan for the college, and I know that we want that to be data-driven. So I'm sure this is going to play a part in that. So I'm going to try to also work some meetings together with the leaders of specific goals in our strategic plan so that we can begin to also incorporate CourseEval into that. So so I want to thank you again. This has been a great presentation, and I appreciate your time. And if anyone, as you're viewing this, has questions, you can send them to me, and I'll forward them to Brenda, and we can get you hooked up and get answers to any questions you might have after the fact. So, and I will also, since you sent me your PowerPoint, I'll send that out with the link to the recording. So thank you again, and I'm going to turn off the recording now. So see everybody. Oh, I almost forgot. Next month, let me pull it up because I almost forgot to. I do this every time. I always like to promote the next month's design time. So next month, which will be October 5th. We will be talking about differences between wikis, blogs, and journals in Blackboard and when you should use which one. And that will be Dawn and Christian talking about that. So look for the reminder about that, but we'll see you in October when we talk about wikis, blogs, discussion boards, and journals. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Stop the recording.